As you know, we've been working through a series, All Things to All People, and I've been learning a lot about Jesus and culture and politics. And one thing that we know is that Jesus didn't come to align himself with a particular political party. He was definitely Jewish, but he was willing to move in and out of different types of people, different groups of people, and different cultures even, and not stay within the own rules and expectations of his own culture.
And as Jesus did this, as he moved in between different cultural groups, to really connect in a meaningful way with people, he remained true to who he was, his Jewish identity, who he was as a person. And that's no easy task for any human being. And so we want to talk a little bit about how did Jesus do it? And we just want to talk about really one word, which is the word adaptable, that Jesus was adaptable. And so what do we mean by adaptable? The definition of adaptable is being able to adjust to new conditions. Human beings are top dog on the earth because we're the most adaptable. We can live in the most different kinds of climates. We can problem solve. We are adaptable. And so another definition that I heard, it says, adaptable people can possess elastic-like energy, a willingness to bend and break habits, to challenge themselves when their circumstances change. They tend to face problems, pivot among the distractions, and politely proceed forward. Adaptable people are prone to think ahead and consistently focus on improvement.
Let's think about for a second how Jesus was able to be that, because that's an amazing definition. When you think about it, the biggest adaptability challenge ever was Jesus coming to earth, a perfect, sinless being, a God, coming down to communicate to imperfect, corrupt people. Wow, how do you adapt to that? Revelations chapter 1, verse 8 says, Jesus says, I am the Alpha and the Omega, who is, and who was, and who is to come, the Almighty. The Greek alphabet begins with Alpha and ends with Omega. So Jesus is saying here, I was before time. I operate in time, but also outside of time, and I will end time. So how does the most powerful being, the most incredible being, the one who understands human nature better than we understand it, how does that being, Jesus, communicate with us?
Well, the answer is he told stories. Or the word that's used in the Bible is parables. He told everyday stories. Jesus spoke about fishing, farming, sheep, goats, losing things around the house. He went to weddings. He used the wedding analogies so that the people of his time could understand the spiritual principles and the spiritual direction that he was trying to give them. He could have spoken in any way that he wanted to, but he spoke in a way that met people where they were at. If that's not adaptable, I don't know what is. In other words, he adapted his message so it could be heard while holding on to what matters the most. He held on to his identity as God's chosen deliverer. He held on to his identity as the Alpha and the Omega. None of that diminished, in fact. But he remained calm as he moved in and out of these different social groups, remaining clear in his identity, but yet still being able to adapt his message in such a way where the people of his day could hear it.
So, thinking about Jesus and his adaptability, here's our adaptability challenge. It's so hard to imitate him, right? Because in situations like this, I know that I can just shut down communication. I can be defensive or even impatient, not willing to teach or explain. We do the opposite. Instead of retaining our identity with God, we lose it and just do not move toward the other person and try to adapt. But what if we loved people by meeting them where they are at, by understanding that, by taking the time to understand that, and meet them. I had a really good friend and neighbor in Phoenix, where we just moved from this year, named Rebecca. And a few years ago, she sent me a text that just totally changed our relationship. She asked me, "I never asked you what it is like to be a Black woman in America. Could we set up time and talk about that?" I'd never been asked that question before. She was white, and I've never had a conversation with a white person like that before. But it led to a life-changing relationship, and we got to tell our stories. She grew up in Nashville. I grew up in upstate New York, also in Zimbabwe, and we told our stories, and she listened, and it helped me to feel so loved, just that she was willing to meet me where I was. And that is a challenge for all of us. Are we willing to allow Christ's love to flow through us to do that?
And so one of the big adaptability challenges as well is just being a person who's willing to be curious and ask questions rather than just express our opinions first. You know, what Tamara was sharing about her friend was her friend asked a great question that really opened the doorway for so much more to happen. And so we just want to leave and close with two questions for you to really think about. And question number one is, what principles in your life and in your identity with Christ need to remain the same no matter what culture you move in and out of? What needs to remain the same? And question number two is, like Jesus, what would you be willing to do in order to meet someone where they're at? How can you adapt to be able to meet someone where they're at? So thanks for the time, everybody. Let's continue to get into our Bibles, enjoy relationships with one another, and have great conversations that really draw us closer to God and really make our fellowship even that much more special. Have a great day. Take care.